The head of our careers unit, Aoife Coonagh, joins me now. Aoife, what is the one biggest mistake people make when answering a question in a job interview?
At interviews, a lot of candidates just launch straight into the answer without actually pausing and thinking about what answer they want to give. They sometimes treat it more like an oral exam than, well, look, I've got skills and experience I need to get across at this interview. So they just launch into the answer without pausing.
In your experience, is that due to a lack of preparation or just that the dreaded nerves tend to take over?
It can be a little bit of both. At the early stages of the interview, often the nerves are what will cause people to launch into an answer. On the other hand, if they actually haven't prepared and thought through, what skills, what experience they want to demonstrate at the interview, they actually end up just responding to the answer to the question that was asked rather than actually thinking it through.
How can you prepare for the unexpected question?
Well, some candidates come in and they'll have a list of questions worked out, they've worked out what the skills are, but they really haven't thought through their experience. So the main thing is, from my perspective, is that they work out what are the skills and experience required in the job. They need to think about what they'll actually be doing if they get the job, and then look for examples and look for experience that shows they're going to be able to do it in the job.
What about the dreaded weakness question? Is there a good answer to that question?
There's a lot of, I suppose, trite answers that can be given to that. I've heard I'm a perfectionist or I work too hard, and really, the interviewer doesn't believe those. What interviewers are looking for is really, have you a good sense of, well, what areas do you need to work on, or what areas do you need to develop? Or even in the past, what things have let you down and how have you addressed them. So genuinely, I would say to candidates, think about what your own development needs are in relation to the role and be genuine in terms of how you're going to address them.
Aoife, is it okay to use notes?
Yeah, some candidates bring notes in and they might have a copy of their CV or they might have a copy of their application form. There's not a problem unless it doesn't distract them, all right? Because that can happen if a candidate is trying to find their place on a page or find an example on an application form that they want to talk us through. They're looking for something and it ends up distracting both them and the interviewers. My advice is, if you're going to bring notes in, that you make them kind of bullet pointed, just key points that you want to get across on the day.
Aoife Coonagh, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Emma.
I'm joined now by Senior Consultant Declan Farrell, who is going to talk to us about how you should conduct yourself during the interview. Declan, I think one of the biggest questions people always have is, when I walk into the interview room, should I shake hands with the board?
Absolutely, it's a very common concern for candidates. What's most likely is that you'll be in a waiting area before you go into the interview, and either the chairperson of the panel or a secretary to the board will come into the room and escort you into the interview. That person will shake your hand. The panel may have decided not, for a number of reasons. If there's a very wide table, if there's jugs of water, glasses of water, notes on the table, they may decide it's easier for the candidate just to take a seat. So I think be guided by the panel. If they stand to shake your hand, do. If they stay in their seats, take a seat yourself.
Okay. What about things like eye contact? That can be especially difficult if it's quite a large panel, sometimes up to 10 or 11 people.
Yeah, even with 3 people, gauging the eye contact is difficult. The rule is whoever is asking you the questions at a given time is the person to focus on in terms of eye contact. Every now and then acknowledge that the other people are there on the other side of the table, but really focus on the individual asking the questions.
What about the use of gestures and things like, how do you sit at an interview, controlling your body language? Because when you're nervous, you can get very fidgety and agitated. How do you control
Absolutely. I think with gestures, they're something that come naturally to most people. For the first couple of minutes, people tend to be very self-conscious in an interview. As they relax into it, the hands begin to move a little bit more, and that's absolutely fine. The less distraction you bring in with you in terms of jewellery, handbags, etc., the less likely you are to fidget. Fidgeting, you really need to avoid in an interview. It's very distracting to the panel. You have 40 minutes to tell them everything they need to know about yourself. You don't want them distracted by any fidgeting you may be doing, so be very, very conscious of that.
And just finally, Declan, I know as a woman I constantly have 2 bags and a jacket and a coat and the whole lot, and obviously that does not look great if you're kind of staggering into an interview carrying all these things. What do you suggest people do in terms of their sort of accessories, bags and coats and things?
If there's somewhere to hang your coat in the reception area, absolutely leave it there. Bring as little as possible into the room with you. At the very most, a folder or a handbag for girls, but other than that, leave it outside the room or leave it at home if you can.
Declan Farrell, thank you very much.
Thank you.